Yes, sir. You can go ahead. I don't know why it did the same thing the last meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, you can go ahead and start.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the zoning board of appeals. I'd like to call to order the December 10th, 2024 zoning board of appeals regular meeting. I'd like to go around the room, introduce ourselves. My name is Richard Gilbert. I'm the chair.
Bill Pickett. I am the vice chair.
Pete Bischoff, member.
Dennis Crowe.
John Zion.
Dylan Sella, a Walton member. So I'd like to remind everyone, 4 votes are needed for an application to be approved. Any and all items used are exhibits and will be retained in the file. After the applicant's presentation is made, the board will ask questions they may have, and then the audience may ask questions. And then after the discussion, we will ask for anyone to speak in favor or against the application. Presenters or audience members speaking are asked to give their name and address the first time they speak, and then just their name any subsequent times. Once the application has been heard, we will close the public portion of the hearing and have the board, and then the board will go into deliberations. At that point, we cannot accept any additional testimony according to state statute. And then we will either make a decision immediately or after the meeting. So I'd like to ask our zoning officer, Ray Patola, to please read the appeals to presented this evening.
Okay. Second. Legal notice, Madison Board of Zoning Board of Appeals, Madison, Connecticut. Notice is hereby given that the board will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, December 10th, 2024, beginning at 7 p.m. in Meeting Room A, Town Campus, 8 Campus Drive, Madison, Connecticut, 06443. This is a hybrid meeting, and attendees may also join via Zoom webinar through the webinar link or call-in information below, www.zoom.ct.us. Webinar ID 92002702103, password 3888818, or call-in information 1-646-558-8656. The following applications will be heard. Application number 24-16, 665 Boston Post Road, 677 Boston Post Road, and Boston Post Road 30, map 38, lot 81-8, map 38, lots 88, 89, and 81A, Zone D, DW. Owner applicant, the Madison Hose Company Number 1, Inc. Variance request to section 6.2.3J to allow a building width of 125.6 feet where a maximum of 80 feet is required. Section 6.2.3B to allow 2.5 side yard setback where 6 feet is required. Section 6.2.3F to allow building coverage of 37.6% where a maximum of 30% is allowed to construct a 2-story addition to existing firehouse. Application 24-15, 305 Boston Post Road, map 36, lot 18, zone R1, owner applicant Carrie Soderstrom, variance request to section 3.6C to allow a 23.9 foot rear setback where 30 feet is required to construct a new addition to an existing single-family dwelling. Application also includes a coastal site plan. Copies of these applications are available for inspection in the Land Use Office. Further details on how to participate in the webinar are posted on the Town of Madison website, www.madisonct.org. All written correspondence can be submitted to the Land Use Department via email, landuse@madisonct.org, or dial 203-245-5631 for assistance. These notices were published once in the Source on November 28th. There was a clerical error. It was reposted in the New Haven Register on November 29th. And second notice was noticed on December 5th, 2024 in the Source, dated this 28th day of November by Richard Gilbert, Chair.
Thank you, Maria. So I'd like to call the applicant for 2416, 665 Boston Post Road, 677 and Boston Post Road.
Good evening. My name is, Chris McKeon. I'm an attorney. My office is at 900 Chapel Street in New Haven. I'm a resident of the town. I live at 31 Hotchkiss Lane. I am here tonight representing the applicant, Madison Hose Company Number 1, Inc. With me is the president of that organization, Travis Gulick, Sam DeBura, the town's fire marshal, and also Greg Carroll, who's the assistant chief with the Madison Hose Company. A couple of things that I learned in taking on this matter about the Madison Hose Company, which was a nonprofit. They have a website with lots of information if you ever want to look at it. But it is obviously one of two fire companies that serve the town of Madison. Madison Hose Company Number 1 is responsible for protection of the entire southern portion of our town, including downtown, Interstate 95, Hammonasset State Park, the northeast corridor of the rail line, and 7 miles of shoreline that is our town. Over in calendar year 2023, they responded to 620 calls, which include structure fires, motor vehicle accidents, hazardous material incidents, water rescues, carbon monoxide emergencies, automatic fire alarms, and much more. They also assist neighboring towns through a program called the Rapid Intervention Team. The reason we're here is there is a proposed project to expand the firehouse downtown. And to provide more information and background and insight into that and the reasons for it, I want to introduce the president of the applicant, Travis Gulick.
How you doing? 46 Ridge Road, obviously in Madison. Just wanted to really give kind of a brief background on the firehouse and the reason why we're looking for more space. Really, the original firehouse was 2 doors over is where the Head Start Barbershop is, by Frank back there. And then even then, in the 1950s, they were realizing that they needed more space. The apparatuses were getting bigger. That was in 1913, they moved into that building. In the early 1950s, they realized they needed more space. Things were getting bigger. They needed more response. And that is actually, so they bought the current firehouse, which is actually a car shop in the 1950s. Then in 1994, 1993, 1994, the company back then was actually thinking ahead because we were going to need more space again. We purchased the property that is currently 677 Boston Post Road, which we are combining. There's a lot of different things that we need more room for. Trucks are getting bigger, more equipment, the restrictions, everything that we need is just getting bigger, the more things we need. Over the past couple of years, probably about 10, 15 years, we've actually had to do 2 renovations to fit the current trucks into our firehouse. First was our rescue truck. We actually had to bring closets. We had to take closets out of the space and because it was longer. So we lost some storage there. Then our ladder truck, we actually had to cut a metal beam and get it all fabricated to actually get the ladder truck into the firehouse, current firehouse we have. So we're already seeing a pattern here that we needed more space. Even in the 90s, they realized they needed more space because that was the purpose of the purchase of the building. The 2 buildings on 677 Boston Post Road was for an expansion. Over the years, we just keep adding more things to the firehouse, adding washer and dryer for our gear, all the all the scientific studies about the cancer in the gears that the firemen are getting. So we needed the gear to really kind of keep our washing our gear after the structure fire, any incident that we really have. We needed that space as well. Currently, there's no offices in our firehouse. So for running day-to-day operations, the chief, the board of directors, we have no space to do any type of work. We're just doing it right in the middle of our meeting room. Right now, we have a half bath upstairs and a full bath right on our apparatus floor. We don't have male or female bathrooms, which we currently do have a female fireman in our department. We have no handicap space as well, which would be adding a handicap space upstairs, because we'll be adding an elevator as well. Other aspects with the building, our Zodiac, our boat Zodiac right now, we have to take out trucks to get to our Zodiac, which responds to ham and acid a lot. And then any water rescue as well. Also, along with our HEV as well. So those are just kind of little things that things are keep adding into a firehouse, because the more things we need, more equipment we need for response time, and the different type of incidences as well. To go kind of into the second floor and VOC, Sam talked about that. So.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Sam DeBura, 20 Arbor Lane. I've been a lifelong resident of Madison. I've been a pretty long member of Madison Hose Company. I've been a fire marshal for Madison for over 20 years. In 2016, I took on the position of emergency management director. And in 22, I took on the director of operations. So I'm here to speak on the partnership that the town has made with the hose company for its emergency operations center back in, so currently the operations center is in Hammond Asset Road. It can't be set up all the time because the Board of Ed uses that room continuously. So anytime we have an activation, it takes at least 20, 30 minutes to set up all the equipment, get things rolling. In 2018, they did a facility study throughout the town, and one of the things that come out of it was that they needed a permanent place for an emergency operations center. So with the host company looking for more space, the town partnered up with the host company, and we applied for a grant through Congressman Courtney's office. It was a federal grant, and we were awarded the grant, and consequently, we got up to this point to put the addition on. So this project has been endorsed by the Board of Finance, the Board of Selectmen, the local state reps, the local state senate, and we got letters of support from Senator Murphy and so on. So we're very excited about to get this project rolling and to have a permanent place for the EOC. And basically, once we get this up and rolling with any type of emergency, we just walk in and flip the light switch and we're operational, instead of having to go 30 minutes, 20, 30 minutes to set it up. So I'm happy to answer any questions with that.
So with respect to the application and the specifics of the variances that are needed and the rationale and the justification for them, as with past applications, in my response to application question 8, I try to attach a narrative laying out exactly the basis for our requested variances. In this case, the reasons and the rationale are fairly convincing and numerous, frankly. So the first thing that I wanted to point out is that the application concerns 3 separate parcels right now. There is the main firehouse parcel right here. That's 665. There is the parcel in the rear that's borders on Tux's Pond. And then there's this long, narrow parcel next door, which Travis just indicated was purchased by the hose company in the 90s. It has 2 single-story structures on it right now. This, of course, is the firehouse. This rear parcel has nothing on it. It's vacant. The proposed project would be to combine all three parcels into one parcel and make the addition to the eastern side of the existing firehouse after demolishing the two structures here, which are currently non-conforming in numerous ways. So as you can see from the application, the nonconformities are plenty. First, with respect to the main firehouse parcel, the lot is only 13,109 square feet. Minimum lot size in this district is 20,000 square feet. That's the largest of the three lots. So it is non-conforming as to minimum lot area. It is non-conforming as to the eastern side yard. The firehouse literally sits on the boundary between 665 and 677. There's a 6-foot side yard in the downtown in the DW district, which this site is. It's important to note the W because that is an area that's compromised in terms of water use. So the uses that are allowed in the DW district cannot be heavy users of water. So it is unlikely, if not impossible, to have an apartment building on these sites, restaurants, other high water use is just, there's a separate regulation in our regulations that just don't allow buildings to be used for that purpose in this area of downtown. So in addition to the side yard and lot size of 665, the current firehouse exceeds the coverage requirements of 30%, 35% by special exception. And it currently covers 43% of the lot that it sits on. Moving over to the right or to the east, the 677 parcel has 5 separate nonconformities. Minimum lot area, it only has 5,283 feet. The side yard, the eastern side yard, the building is located 1 foot from the eastern boundary. This building, the rear building, is 1 foot from the eastern boundary. The western side yard, this building is located 2.7 feet from the boundary with the fire station. The lot itself, as you can see, is very narrow. It's 32.5 feet. 100 feet is required in the district. And then there also is a requirement that buildings in the downtown district be 2 stories. Both of the structures on 677 are 1 story. And then finally, this parcel, which is currently vacant, is non-conforming, obviously, in terms of lot size, because it's 4,180 square feet. And then it doesn't have frontage. It is a landlocked parcel, and therefore it has no lot width. Based on our definition of what lot width is in our regulations, although not a technical nonconformity, as you can see, that parcel is landlocked. So as part of the proposal to combine all of these lots, and Maria, if you could go to the proposed plan. It's essentially the same map. It just shows where we're proposing the addition. So this black area is where the addition would be, again, on a now combined single parcel. Doing that eliminates 8 of the 10 nonconformities I just told you about. The only 2 nonconformities that remain out of the 10 I just went through are maximum building coverage, as we're proposing to have a coverage of 37.8% of the entire consolidated site. As I indicated to you before, 665, the firehouse parcel, is currently covered 43.3%. And there's also the current eastern side yard nonconformity, which currently, the firehouse sits on the property line. The addition, we're proposing to go to 2.5 feet from the eastern property boundary It is roughly the same distance that the building next door is from its property line. Again, you can kind of see that, and hopefully you guys have blown up versions of it. And then the third variance request, those are the two variances we're requesting for coverage because we're still over, although reduced, the side yard for 2.5 feet where 6 feet is required, where we have 1 foot or 1.5 foot currently existing on that side yard. The third is in the downtown district. It's the only place in the Madison zoning regulations where this happens. The building width is required to be no more than 80 feet. And here, because of the nature of the building, the firehouse, the need for ground level ingress, egress, we're requesting a variance of that to allow for 125.6 feet of width where the 80 feet is required. Can you show the draft elevation? I just want to show you because to the extent there's concern about a big wide building, number one, I would suggest that a firehouse makes sense, but the front elevation here, this would be the addition. So it doesn't look like a big wide building. There's definition between the three portions. There's a higher roof line. You can't really tell here, but the garage bays here have to be a little bit higher, as Travis indicated. The machinery is larger now. The windows are slightly different. It looks like any other streetscape where you have a party wall on boundary lines. So I would suggest to you that allowing the wider width of the building here, given the nature of the use and the proposed design, is a modest request in light of the fact that you're eliminating 8 nonconformities and mitigating 2 others. So a little bit about the reduction of nonconformities and elimination of nonconformities. What we're really looking at, what the case law talks about here, is that when you have a scenario where you're eliminating and reducing nonconformities, it's almost like a before and after photo. So, we look at what we have before, which is these numerous nonconformities, and then we look at what we have after. So I pointed out the 10 nonconformities and a sort of 11th one with this parcel sort of floating in the background there with no access to Boston Post Road. And then you look at what's afterwards, and afterwards you have a conforming lot. It's still a little bit over coverage, and it's still a little too close to the eastern boundary line. But otherwise, all those other things go away. And why is that important? It's important because you're avoiding the next requests for variances on these other 2 lots. This parcel that borders on Tuxas Pond, if that were not owned by the hose company, and there's nothing that says it has to continue to be owned by them, somebody could be making an application for a variance here on a true hardship because the site doesn't have access to Boston Post Road. Probably more feasible would be, and if you could go back to the prior plan, the 677 parcel, which is 32 feet wide and has 2 completely obsolete buildings located on it. So this parcel, if somebody were to want to develop it, they would be here requesting multiple variances, in my opinion, because the building envelope and the size of the lot essentially allow you to build a 20-foot by 77-foot building that has to be 2 stories. So that's a bowling alley is what you're talking about. And who is going to spend their money to build a bowling alley? They're not going to do it. They're going to come and they're going to say to you, we need to go closer to the side yards. We need to cover a little bit more of the lot. How are we going to fit a septic on here? Those are real hardships. So when you look at the before photo and the after photo, you're taking away all of that. Those parcels don't exist anymore. You have a single conforming parcel. You have a building that serves a very important purpose for the town. And yeah, you're a little bit over coverage and you're a little too close to the neighbor. And the building technically violates this 80-foot width, which again is the only spot in the regulations that occurs, which is a little odd because if you think about the whole town and the downtown area, there are buildings connected to each other throughout the downtown. So it kind of doesn't make sense. But be that as it may, I think it is really clear that what you end up in the after photo is way more desirable than what you have now. I would also point out that these parcels could constitute a traditional hardship as well. The rear parcel, for the reasons I mentioned, it's landlocked parcel. That parcel in and of itself, somebody's going to need a variance to do anything on that site. The same with this parcel for the reasons I mentioned earlier in terms of the building envelope. One other point is that from Tux's Pond through here, I think you can see it on the map, 36 concrete pipe. There's a 36-inch drain pipe coming from the pond through with a flow out this way. So any expansion to this side is impossible, given that, and that was there before the hose company purchased it in the 50s because it's recited in their deed. So it's not something they created. This is a pipe that the town drains through, and I tried to find out when it was put in, but I couldn't. So I think for all of those reasons, the elimination of 8 nonconformities, the 2 variances, which really are reductions from what currently exists, and the 3rd variance of allowing a little bit wider building in these circumstances, the rationale of the elimination of the nonconformities more than justifies the granting of the variances. And the case law is crystal clear that the reduction and elimination of nonconformities, it doesn't obligate you to grant a variance, but it certainly, without debate, gives you the discretion and the ability to do so. You have to look at other factors, and I believe the town attorney last year presented information to your board that was made public about the reduction of nonconformities and elimination of nonconformities. And you need to look to the other factors here, and that is this consistent with the comprehensive plan of the town, which you get from the zoning regulations and the zoning map. The firehouse exists by special exception use in this particular zone. It has a special exception, so the town has already made the determination that the firehouse downtown in this location is a use we want to allow. Importantly, and as Sam mentioned, the study back in 2018 about the need for an emergency operations center and the Planning and Zoning Commission's most recent completion of the Plan of Conservation and Development. I went through today, and it is clear that the ability to protect, provide for public safety, and have an emergency operations center is something that's at the forefront of the policies and the implementation suggestions of the plan. On page 21, it talks about in the process for updating the Plan of Conservation and Development, we've experienced extensive impacts of climate change, including wildfires. I think we all can probably admit recently there were wildfires in areas that I just never, ever heard of them. I know up in Bristol, there was a big one. See them on the news all the time. Never thought we'd be dealing with it. I went to my dentist in Hamden during that time of the drought, and I smelled smoke in the center of Hamden. I think it's pretty clear that everybody is realizing that the weather patterns are different. Whatever the cause, they're different, and they're causing some different things for people in the emergency operations to have to deal with. At page 35, the Plan of Conservation and Development, they recognize that the town's emergency management department is responsible for protecting not only the town and its citizens, but the natural environment that we use and enjoy here in Madison. The emergency facilities and systems and the preparations, communications, and reliability of that are part of the planning objectives and strategies as indicated on page 41 of the Plan of Conservation and Development. One of the main policies, and there's 7 of them in the Plan of Conservation and Development, is to prepare our community to be resilient in the face of climate change and future economic and environmental challenges. That also under that policy is the creation of a risk management program and developing a new emergency operations center that appears on page 55 of the plan. Again, creation of the risk management plan appears on page 65. So when you factor in the nature and use of the proposed project and the addition, what it does for the town in terms of public safety, convenience, and the welfare of the town, items that you're required to consider on any variance request, and the comprehensive plan where you have a fire department approved, the use approved by special exception, and a plan of conservation and development that's stressing the need for an emergency operations center, I would submit to you that all of the reductions in nonconformities, the consolidation of the site, and the proposed addition, and the variances that we're seeking are more than justified. Lastly, I wanted to draw your attention to a prior application that I had brought before you for 49 Wall Street, where in that case, we consolidated 2 lots. We demoed 2 small homes in the rear, one of which was too close to the rear yard. And the consolidation of the 2 lots resulted in a complying lot in the downtown district. And your board found that sufficient to justify an average height variance. So, and there are others, but that's the most recent that I could think of. And it also is in the downtown district. So I thought it was relevant to bring it up. And finally, to the extent that you have questions or are hesitant or doubtful about your ability to grant a variance or the legal justification for it, I would ask that you bring those to our attention while the public hearing is open so we can attempt to talk about them and work them out or satisfy your concerns before we close, because as you know, during deliberations, we can't do that. So other than that, I'm available for questions from you folks or anybody in the public.
I have 2 questions.
Sure.
Mr. McKeon. So, yeah, we've seen the training from the town attorney and the seminars about how the reduction of nonconformities, absence of a legal hardship. Does that case law also support that with when you have a case of multi-lots, because of all the stuff, I don't want to speak for all of you guys, but all of the stuff that I've read concerns single lots. Does that also transfer to a situation like this where you're taking 3 lots and combining them into the one, where there's not an abandonment, you can claim the nonconformities, even though there's, being demolishing, a building and whatnot?
So the concept of reducing and eliminating nonconformities comes from a line of cases. And the line of cases started with a case called Adolphson, which was a straight use variance. And the zoning board of appeals in that case allowed a use which was not permitted, an auto repair facility, instead of the non-conforming current use, which was a foundry, which was burning and polluting. And the board's rationale was it's more conforming to our regulations and what we want than a foundry. Okay, and the appellate level court upheld that rationale, saying even though it's not a permitted use, the zoning board of appeals has the ability to justify a variance on a more conforming situation. So I would answer your question by saying wherever you can show that the proposed project is going to eliminate or reduce nonconformities, the case law is clear that that provides you with the legal basis to grant a variance or variances. It doesn't obligate you to. I don't want to misstate because it does not. The cases are pretty clear across the board, really, where the board relies on a reduction and elimination to grant variances and someone takes an appeal, the board is upheld. If you weren't convinced that there were enough elimination or reduction of nonconformities to justify what's being requested in terms of the variances, and you said, you know what, we realize you're reducing, you're eliminating, but it's just not enough. And you made the decision on top of that, that what's really being proposed isn't so consistent with the comprehensive plan and isn't that so desirable that we want to bend our rules based on the proposed reduction in nonconformities, and you decided to deny it, you'd be upheld. So you have the discretion clearly based on all of the nonconformities that are being eliminated and reduced, but it is your discretion. I hope that answers your
It
question.
does. Can I ask you one more thing? And maybe this may be a Maria question, whoever wants to answer. So how does it work that, okay, so if we grant the variances that go with the land, there's 3 lots, you're gonna combine them into one. So do the variances go with the combined lot or individual? How does that? Sorry, we haven't had one of these in a while. I
It's
don't
becoming
remember.
one lot, so it goes with the one lot.
Yeah, I
Okay.
would suggest that if we were to grant the variance, we would simply make it contingent upon that they successfully consolidate the 3 lots.
And how
If
does
they don't
They
do
would
that,
have to.
then the variance would say this, it will sit in the.
They would have to, because that's how it's gonna work.
And how does the consolidation, does that go through zoning or something, or just land
It's a
use, they
merge.
file
Yeah, it
something?
would be an-
I just did it
Yeah,
Yeah,
on the Wall Street property.
yeah, I think I was there for that one, but,
yeah.
okay.
I don't know if you were at that particular meeting or not, but the process of merging, I
Yeah.
did just do it. And have done it multiple times in conjunction with applications because it is a frequent tool and one that zoning commissions and zoning boards encourage
Okay.
because you want more conforming lots. The policy of eliminating and reducing and making things more conforming to your regulations is replete throughout the land use case law. We're all trying to make everything be more compliant with our regulations. I probably have a site here in one of these
I was
cases.
just
but-
administratively, I was just kind of
Yeah,
curious.
you
how-
record a deed that says the intent is to merge these parcels and I have done it. And even if you didn't make it a condition,
Yeah.
based on our application, if you were to approve it,
Yeah.
we'd be obligated to merge.
Got it. Thank you.
Anybody, I have questions too. Okay, so first of all, what is the status of what's the process of getting it merged? And where are you in that process? The consolidation of the lots.
If we're to get the variance granted, and the appeal period runs, we would merge the parcels. So you'd have a non-conforming,
Like
a conforming lot.
it's in the process right now.
Yeah, it,
So,
it,
so it hasn't actually been submitted to the town until it's actually, so we actually got it.
correct.
Second question, which,
And there's a reason for that, and sorry to interrupt, but if they're not able to do what they want to do with the site they bought in the nineties, they may want to sell that site to somebody, and you may be faced with somebody coming in saying, you can't do anything with this site downtown, whether you're entitled to a variance or not, I don't know, but it's a piece of property in town that I think is fairly important.
okay, so second question, let me get back to the point that you said earlier, this may affect my third question, but you said you don't want water intensive facilities.
We don't know, that's the zone. It's not, it's zoned water.
Zoning,
Yeah,
right, includes water intensity. A fire station is not water intensive?
no,
We hold on.
they hold, yeah. Tanks hold the water. They don't use a lot of water.
We go somewhere else.
Okay.
I did say that, and I want to give you the specific site of that. It is section 6.25, which is the water restriction overlay district. And it specifically says there's severe limitations on the capacity of the soil to absorb sewage effluent. So it's really more about the septic than it is. And so the soils don't work well for septic there. So being able to put in an apartment building
Okay,
or
yeah,
apartments
makes
above
sense.
is troubling.
All right.
It's troubling.
Now, I've got a question not for you, but for the other three gentlemen here. And given the history of expansion, continued expansion, have you given any thought to moving to another location? Obviously, it needs to be nearby, but busting at the seams.
We've looked at other locations.
Sorry?
We've looked at other locations and we're not suitable. The closest one that they found was on Academy Street down my brother Mike's, but that'd be a nightmare coming out.
Yeah.
With emergency apparatus. But there's no other sites that are available close by with the proximity to keep the same response time to.
So the response time, public safety demands immediate access.
That has been communicated and talked about for quite a number of years, since really, 2018, when it started coming to town. EOC started having that conversation. It's been, from the top down in the town about looking, discussion comes up all the time. And it has been researched and it has been looked into. Yeah,
Yeah, and that
With the
may
property
come
trust.
to a head at some point in the future, but that shouldn't affect our decision here, so. Okay,
I have questions.
that's all I've got.
So you've got all this space, emerging lots. I think people here be very flexible to variances. But why do you need it? Could you not move that building over? Because 5 feet, isn't that a safety hazard between your building and the other building? The 6 feet's there for safety purposes and your fire department. I would think you'd want safety. And the next door building, I went by and looked at it. There's apartment on top floor. All the windows face your building. Having lived in Manhattan, you go from 20 feet to 5 feet, you're going to blot a lot of the sun. So you're really kind of diminishing the property next door. Have you talked to that person and worked and they're in agreement with having something that close or?
I can respond to that. Attorney Brin is one of the owners of the building next door.
It's just ironic I'm here for the other application.
As is Frank Proto. And they've expressed that particular concern about looking out the window to a building next door. And Russ and I spoke this morning, so I'm going to say exactly what I said to him this morning, which is, even if it were at 6 feet away, you're looking at another building. I mean, you're talking about a building that's 3.5 feet closer or not.
Mathematically, the sun.
On top of it, yeah, on top of it, though, the building next door that they own is also too close to the boundary.
I'm just saying,
Yeah,
is it it's a safety issue? Have you looked at, can we expand the back building back further, put the bigger trucks over here, the smaller
So,
ones here? And the
Originally, the building was gonna be 32 feet wide. Right, so now we reduced it when Frank expressed that he'd like to have a bigger alley, we reduced it by 2 feet. That's the most reduction we can go to have the 2 doors side by side, to have that look, the facade look. If we reduce it any more, we'd have to have one big door, probably like about a 20-foot wide door where trucks would have to go in on angles and stuff like that. You're looking for, people to damage trucks as they're going in and out in an emergency situation.
And also go along lines, if you look at the elevation, which is actually, that was a preliminary drawing, and that is actually, can you see that, Chris? So this right now, this was a preliminary drawing before we actually talked, we did reduce it to 30 feet. This is actually at 32 feet. And so we actually are bringing this in another 2 feet. And one, me, I'm a design guy. So when you're looking at the front of the building, these got 12, 12, 14, 12. And then if we had to do one big door here, I think we all can understand that just aesthetically is it's not going to be, probably won't pass ACA. Because we do have to go to ACA for design aspect as well.
Could you put the big door on the left?
Well, then we're talking about a major construction aspect with the whole building, and obviously that's not something that we were looking, that we got the grant for doing this construction as well. And then actually a couple of days ago, I did go downtown and measured all the alleys. There's 3 alleys right across the street from us. That's 5 feet, 2.5, and 5 feet. The ones closer to Grand Pizza and Roger Julia, those are about 6 and 7.5. So those alleyways are around the similar size.
There's one other point I wanted to make, and that I told Attorney Brin this morning when we spoke. This particular side view, this kind of shows the outline of the building next door. We did talk about looking into the feasibility of breaking this up with windows or some other design element or color. We had plans to talk to Attorney Brin and Frank after this meeting, hopefully after these are approved, to talk about easements and other things that may be desirable between 2 neighboring property owners in the downtown area like this. But I keep coming back to the fact that the building that's on their site is too close to the property line. It is exactly in vis-a-vis the property line where we're trying to go to.
Yeah, but you've used this argument before. It was built prior to these rules put in place, so that's.
I'm not saying it's a justification. What I'm saying is that.
You can't use the argument one side, then use it against.
No, what I'm saying is if the addition were at 6 feet.
I understand.
They're still
I went down to the same thing Travis did. I measured all the different things. They are ranged from 2.5 to some of the bigger ones that are.
Yeah. No, the other key thing is we still have to operate while this addition is going on. So anything done to the existing part is going to hinder our operations and we'll be able to provide services.
Makes sense. I just, you try to create a win-win and, right now
we
you're
looked
trying
at
We are too, and we have open dialogue with Attorney Brin and with Frank to talk about a number of issues relating to the proximity of these buildings.
There's an apartment next door above the
Right.
barber shop right now, right?
So if I'm allowed to speak, so there's 2 commercial tenants on the first floor. Frank, Head Start Haircutters, there's an art gallery, Susan Powell, and then there's a residential apartment upstairs.
And there's windows that are on that side that are looking at the
That's why I
firehouse.
guess they're all.
And they look at the houses or
There's
the
windows on,
Yeah, they look
There's
over-
windows.
they look over top of
Bella
the
or whatever it is,
building.
okay.
there's windows on both sides, right? She
Yes.
looks over
Yeah,
the other
on both
buildings.
sides.
Okay, yeah.
There's 5 on the side where.
And then, yeah,
The addition is close.
So the question is so you can't have one big stall, one small stall, and that just doesn't work for the plan for the fire department because it looks like a 50% increase. I don't know, just trying to.
yeah, it's all about the response time and really our aspect. Right now, we have to pull out trucks to get other trucks out. And so for our pumper truck is the second to the left. We have to pull that out to get to our brush truck. The middle our ladder truck in the middle that has our Zodiac
Trucks are-
and our ATV, they're back to back right now. And then again, it's the concept of really the grant aspect that we got is for this addition, not to renovate the existing firehouse. And budget constraints are obviously.
We have high water vehicles sitting in the back parking lot that should be inside.
Bill, do you?
No, I think you've answered all my questions.
Down there? So anyone in the public would like to ask questions or speak in favor of the application? Anybody online?
No one raising their hand.
For or against? We'll just throw that out.
Yeah, there's nobody raising their hand online.
Anybody?
No,
In the audience or against would like to speak. Any other questions? Any final comments?
I find that, everyone has any-
All right, I'd like to motion that we close the public portion of the hearing.
Well, wait,
Oops, jumping the gun.
now there's somebody raising their hand.
Okay.
Jacqueline, Jacqueline, if you can unmute yourself and state your name and address. Jacqueline, bonsoir. Jacqueline, did you want to speak?
You hear me now?
There you
No?
are.
Okay, I'm not very computer savvy. You have to be young to be that. So,
Jacqueline, if you could just state your name and your address, please.
okay, so my name is Jacqueline Guizol, Guizol, and my address is 685 Boston Post Road, of course, in Madison and all that good stuff. And this is the first I hear, what's going on. I have a general three concern, which, I haven't had a chance to look at all this. So do we have more time to look at this, to make comments or write a letter or whatever? Or is it tonight? How does that work?
Unless the board decides to extend that 35 days, but usually we decide tonight, so I think this would be
Well-
your best opportunity.
That is a little complicated because, it's a lot of information from one person to look at that is not a pro. My concerns are the lack of sun when the building is very closed. My own parking lot was affected by the fact that my neighbors on the other side was asphalted. I have been here more than 25 years. When the parking lot was not asphalted, my parking lot was fine because the water was draining and going into the pond. Now it's not the case anymore. So we have a question of being very close and seeing a wall very close. We have a question of more asphalt. And, I think that it would be nice to have, just a couple of days to swallow all of that. And which doesn't mean necessarily we're opposed, but, to give us a chance.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacqueline.
Anybody else online?
Not raising their hand, no.
Okay, and we already asked the audience, no final comments, so I'd like to make a motion to to close the public portion of the hearing and proceed to deliberations.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. You wanna
No, the
start?
last.
Okay. Start, John.
Yeah, well, I have some thoughts about the whole situation. First, you know, I think of the station house, firehouse in Old Saybrook, and I look at that and I say, that's what this firehouse should look like. Sort of a Band-Aid approach to me to continue with these types of things. Having said that, I appreciate how long it takes to get anything done. I see that the original drawing here is from 2018, and seems like a long time to get this process moving forward. And I understand the grants and all of that takes forever to do all this kind of stuff. So, based on Mr. McKeon's proposal, I would support reductions and move forward with the construction as proposed.
Dennis?
Yeah, like John, I see I mentioned it earlier, the inevitability of a future need to go find more space. That having been said, the time that takes will leave us with more public safety risk, and I think that by virtue of the demonstrated need for this for their operations in their operations center, I think that the reduction in nonconformities is a good justification for proving this.
Bill?
Well, I would agree with Dennis, when you're reducing 8 out of the 10 of the nonconformities, or you're eliminating those, and then the 2 others you're reducing. Plus, you also mentioned a traditional hardship in the fact that there's a drainage pipe going down on the west side, which limits your expansion to the west. And also the property in the back, I believe it's 88-1. I mean, that's landlocked, so you can't do anything without land. So again, I see traditional hardships combined with the nonconformities and the reduction of those or the elimination. I would support this application.
So I agree with what was said. I'm not sure if I agree with you about the traditional hardship, but I do agree with everyone about there's definitely a move to eliminate nonconformities. And I think for the record, we can also state as a mitigating circumstance that this is not a typical residential. This is a public service and public safety, and the whole town is going to certainly benefit from the project. So I think that's something we could also mention. Go ahead, Steve.
I mean, I 100% behind the fire department. I just think it would have been nice to work closer and try to give them the space, because I think you're devaluing the property next door, and I don't think part of our mission is to support the community, the fire department as well. But I think obviously my vote won't, if I vote against, it won't count here. But I would hope that the fire department would work, try to give them a little more space, because the value of that building is going down. So I think it's part of our job as a committee to grant variances, but also to take into account what the impact of that, improving that variance is. And I believe the impact we're doing today is devaluing property next.
So
I'm in favor of everything they want to do. I'd give them 90% coverage, but
which variance is
it's the 2.5 feet.
which is section 6.2-3B. That's the one. And what is that currently? Is
6 feet, they're doing 2.5 feet. Again,
Yeah.
I give them 100% coverage. You want it, other than the setback, but I think as a board, we have to take that into account. So just expressing my opinion, it has the votes to pass, but I think we should, didn't see any alternative drawings or anything. It was just simply, this is the one drawing we have. We want to go with it. So
Yeah,
I wish you had given some wider variances and, or the cost difference between this and this, rather than this is the one choice when I think there's other choices.
anybody else? Dylan, do you wanna? Can't. Oh, that's sorry.
He's not
Yeah,
seated, yeah.
Forgot. Anybody have any final comments or? Wanna-
I do want to mention that the draft rendering is just that. It is just a draft. It's just to give you an idea of what it's, they're aiming kind of towards. So it's not a final design. It would still be probably the same size, but just to give you a rendering of the height of what it was going to look like.
So I mean, yeah, I mean, I understand your point, Steve. Yeah, we're not supposed to act in a confiscatory way to the neighbor. I just, I don't know, I wonder if listening to the presentation, certainly the aesthetics of having two doors I like, and I understand that they can't work on the entire firehouse because then they can't respond, and you're not going to give all that business to North Madison. They'd be overwhelmed. So I don't know if you want to discuss it or just.
I just going on the record for
Okay.
some people who present here a lot that
Yeah.
to come in a situation like this, that you should present more options. And that we can discuss rather than just one. So I'm gonna abstain.
Okay. Anybody else? So given that, I can go ahead and make a motion, and I'd like to make a motion to approve the variances requested in application 2416, which is a variance to 6.2.3J, 6.2.3B, and 6.2.3F. The reason being the combined lots are going to have a reduction of nonconformities, and also as a mitigating fact to state for the record that this is a public service and is going to contribute to the public safety of the town. Also like to add that the variance is based on the plans as submitted, and that all construction must conform to those plans. Could I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Wait.
Oh, sorry. You want to
Do we
discuss?
have any discussion on
Sure. Any discussion on the variance?
on the motion?
On the motion on that, yeah.
I just wanted to make it contingent on the consolidation of the three lots. Just put that into the motion.
We could, but I think that's part of, Maria already stated, that's gotta happen. That's a must as part of the process.
But I don't want the variance to go through. And then nothing happened, that they never do anything. But now we've just applied a variance to land that, as you stated, the variance goes with the land. So once the variance is granted, even if they don't join the lots, all of a sudden, what's the variance do? Just like to make the variance contingent on that, which of course, they don't have a problem with that.
Yeah. So Maria, can I just amend it?
If you want to amend it, you would say that you want to approve it on the basis of joining the lots and then go from there.
Okay, so I'm just gonna amend the motion that the three lots are combined into one lot.
So
Could I get any other discussion? Any other discussion? Could I get a second?
Second.
You already got it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And abstaining? Okay, so that's four positives and one abstain, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Could I, motion for a 5-minute break? All in
Just,
favor? Aye.
you,
Yeah.
use your little, right.
Yeah.
I mean, I know a lot of guys. Go and say, wow, Kittle does not say. I know, Sam DeBro is my brother's baseball coach. I like to say you try to keep it, there, but they know our concerns, so they come up with something.
to make the motion.
Yeah.
Read over the portion of the meeting.
And then it wasn't, I just wanted to-
Second.
All in favor?
Well, we have to take a break so we get snacks.
I'd like to call the applicant for application 24-15 305 Boston Post Road. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman Gilbert. My name is Attorney Russell Brin. I'm an attorney in Madison. My office is at 724 Boston Post Road. I'm on the second floor of the Key Bank Building, directly above Ash's Ice Cream. I'm also a resident of Madison at 125 St. Francis Woods Road. With me today are my client, owner of 305 Boston Post Road, Carrie Soderstrom, and her husband, Mark Bergami. And I believe on Zoom is Chuck Mandel, the engineer surveyor who assisted with the project as well. You know, I'll make the presentation and at some point I'll ask Chuck to interject if I forgot to say something or messed anything up. So we're here today in regards to a variance request by my client. So like I said, my client is the owner of 305 Boston Post Road. And she is proposing to construct a new addition to her property to attach the existing structure. The existing structure was built in 1956. It's an existing 3-bedroom property, and there won't be any expansion in terms of number of bedrooms or any impact on septic or anything like that. You know, it would be just the addition will be a garage and then with a room above it. And it's going to require, if the proposal goes through, it would require a 6 feet 1 inch variance to what currently exists. So what's currently required is 30 feet, and we're proposing a 23 feet 9 inches, 23.9 request. As previously submitted, I provided an explanation of the unique characteristics and explanation of hardship with the application. Maria, if you don't mind pulling up just the site plan with the lot.
Mhm.
Great. So I'm going to run through that with everyone, and obviously if there's any questions on anything, please don't hesitate to stop me. All right. So this is the property here. So Boston Post.
Sorry, hold on.
That's okay. So Boston Post Road is right here. And then you can see my client's property, consists of this part, and then the house in this building up here. And then there's also additional square footage there. So the property is already pre-existing non-conforming lot. So it is in R1, which requires a 40,000 square foot lot area. The square footage of this lot is roughly 22,600 square feet. So we're already working with a smaller property to begin with. And then on top of that, as you can see, it's a pretty uniquely, peculiarly shaped lot. So pretty much the only building area of this lot is in this area right here. So not only are we working with a smaller lot, we're also working with a very, very unique footprint. So the building envelope exists right here. This is the existing house. This is the proposed addition, which is right here. So you can see, and then right here is the requested setback variance, which is right here. In terms of any other nonconformities, there are two others that exist. One, there's a nonconformity right here with the setback. So again, side yard 30 feet. Right now it's at 19.9. And then over here, there is a shed that, as part of the application, that will be removed. So that would take care of two things. One, obviously, it's an encroachment on the neighboring property, so that will be removed. And two, by removing that and then adding the proposed addition, we will stay in compliance with coverage. There won't be any request for any variance for coverage. The only variance that would be requested today would be the 23.9 setback request. In addition, a couple other unique characteristics of this property in terms of where something could actually be built here. Like I said, this is really the only building envelope area where you can construct anything. No ability to really build anything here or over here. There is also the location of the septic system, which creates challenges of where else you can build anything else. And also there's wetlands on the back here. So if we wanted to try to alleviate this request for variance with the setback by sliding the property back, we are now moving closer to the wetlands area, and we want to, minimize the impact to wetlands. So, based on the size of the building envelope, the square footage of the lot, the shape of the lot, location of septic, location of wetlands, in our opinion, this is basically the minimum, minimum as necessary to that we can do in order to propose a reasonable addition to the property.
It's the SF line, the dark dotted line.
Silt fence.
Silt fence.
That's a silt
Yes.
fence. That would be
Yes.
protection for the, you're in a flood zone? Yes? Well, you're not in a flood zone, but if you push the house back,
Correct.
you would be.
Correct.
Okay.
Right. So like I said, so where the proposed addition is, my client, myself, the surveyor, we've taken everything into account to try to find the best possible spot to minimize impacts to every other aspect of construction. Feel that that's the minimum, basically minimally invasive area to build the property. Just a couple other points of note. Like I said, it's a very, very small building envelope. So if there was a request for us to try to move the addition to somewhere else, in our opinion, no matter where we moved it, a variance would need to be requested. If we tried to slide it back, we might need a variance in the backside and might have to might more impact on the wetlands. We've tried to move it, towards the west. Again, we might need a variance over there. So just based on the size of the building envelope, no matter where the addition would be moved, in our opinion, we'd be before you for a different type of variance request. In terms of keeping with the harmony of the neighborhood, as I said, it's going to be attached. So it's not going to be a freestanding garage or anything like that. It's going to be attached. The plans and specs will be in conformity with the existing house and the surrounding parcels in the neighborhood. As I said, there's no other request for variances in terms of coverage issues or any other setbacks. There's just the one request. Let's see what else we have for you. And then we do also have a letter of approval, which I would like to read into the record from one of the neighbors. This is from neighbor Donald W. Leopelt. I think a copy was already dropped off by Mr. Leopelt, but we did able to get a copy as well. It states Madison Zoning Board of Appeals, December 8th, 2024. Following property is scheduled to be heard at the meeting of December 10th, 2024. 24-15, 305 Boston Post Road. Map 36, Lot 18, Zone R1, owner applicant Kerry Soderstrom. It says, as a direct adjoining property owner and resident of my property at 315 Boston Post Road for 81 years, I reviewed the drawings and plans at the land use office. The request is to put back in place where the access drive and parking area was 50 years ago when there was a beauty shop that was operated out of the basement. I encourage you to grant the request, which has my total approval and support in its entirety. Donald W. Leopelt. So we will not be putting a beauty shop back into the property, but that was a letter submitted by Mr. Leopelt. And then Maria, if you don't mind pulling that back up, I just want to present one more item to the board.
House or site plan?
Site plan, please. So right now, the existing driveway to the property is right here. There's no garage here. They park their cars right here and then enter through the front of the house. So the proposed addition would be going here with garages that would be on this side of the addition. Right now, there is an existing driveway that runs across owned by the Littmans. As part of this process, the Littmans have granted an easement to my client. I actually have the original in my file, which if the variance is approved, will immediately get recorded on the land records. But we have a easement over this driveway so we can get access to the garage. And I just wanted to point that out because in Mr. Leopelt's letter, he references that the original driveway access to this house was this driveway. And then somewhere along the lines, with future previous construction and development, the driveway was moved over to this side. This would actually bring the driveway back to the original plan and use for the property. One other thing I would like to point out is on the town website, it provides a brief explanatory guide for variances. And I know it's just a guide, it's not, providing any legal advice or anything like that. But one of the paragraphs and under hardship, under variances, it says a setback variance may be appropriate if the peculiar shape of a lot would make it extremely difficult to build a reasonably sized house that conforms to all of the zoning setback regulations. Likewise, the location of extensive wetlands areas on one side of the lot may make a variance appropriate to allow development closer to the opposite lot line. The difficulties in these cases arise from the condition of the lot itself and not just from the wishes or goals of the landowner. So as I said, I know this is not providing any legal advice from this guide, but in my opinion, our request is almost the epitome of what it says in this guide. We have wetlands back here that obviously if we shifted the addition back could have an impact on the wetlands, and also the size, shape, and scope of the lot restricts development in one particular area. And this hardship was not created by my clients, the property owners. This is a result of the configuration of the lot. I'm going to turn it over to Chuck Mandel to see if I missed anything. Chuck, if you want to interject, if you want to add anything.
Chuck's going to talk about the coastal site plan.
Perfect.
Yep.
To add a little bit of color to that, and then we can open up the questions from there.
Thank you, Russ. Chuck Mandel, agent for the applicant. I imagine everyone can hear me at this point? Yes? Okay, thank you. So Attorney Brin did mention the standard hardships. He was very eloquent. There was the wetlands, the septic system is one, proximity to the flood zone, the irregular shape, but he failed to mention what the previous application had mentioned was reduction of nonconformity. So actually that shed that you see in red is about 220 square feet, and the actual addition that's being proposed, which is in the southwest corner, that 23.9 is actually, that's about 38.5 square feet. So it's an actual reduction of nonconformity by 181.5 square feet, plus or minus. That's the only thing I wanted to add to that. Other than that, I think he didn't mention the Aldolphson case, but I guess he could if I'm an attorney. So Chris McKeon to actually explain that ahead of time. The other thing I was a little surprised, and I don't know if it's appropriate to talk about it now. We also did apply for CAM. I think this board has to approve CAM applications since those are required anytime it goes to the Zoning Board of Appeals. And Maria, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we also have a concurrent CAM application with this.
We do have a CAM application, and it was submitted to DEP, and apparently they did not care enough to comment. We never received anything back from them.
Yeah. So Chuck Mandelian. So typically, when DEP does have comments, it's there's a coastal resource that's nearby. So in this instance, upland wetlands is considered a coastal resource, and so is shorelands. But as you can see, the development is about 76.6 feet away from the inland wetlands. And I believe that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck.
Yep.
Did I get your name right, Brin?
Brin, B-R-I-N-N.
Okay, would you mind just very briefly reviewing the coastal site plan with us?
Sure. Do you want me to bring it up on the screen?
Can I possibly ask a question about what is presented so far?
Absolutely, go ahead.
And let's go back to that the layout there.
Am I bringing something up?
Yeah, map. Okay, so Attorney Brennan, you said you couldn't build anywhere else, but I see that if you just slid that proposed addition backwards, you could go to that line that had the dash line that says BL, building setback line.
Right to here?
Yep, right in there.
So our concern with that is now we're getting closer to the existing septic system.
You're close to the setback for the flood zone thing, but you're not on it.
The septic system. He said septic system?
Septic system.
Yes. So there, I think there's a concern about getting too close.
Yeah, yeah.
So what's the concern? What's the
So Chuck Mandel, if I can jump in, you have to be 25 feet from the septic system. So pushing it back would reduce that distance to less than 25 feet, which would be a violation of the health code. In addition, it's also getting closer. If you look closely at the map, it says flood zone AE elevation 14. So you're also pushing it back closer to the flood zone. And I know FEMA is getting ready to change flood lines again. So those lines will be changing once again. So that would put it at a risk, at hazard for coastal flooding.
Well, the risk won't change because they changed the lines. The risk is what the risk is.
Well, the flood line, exactly right. But the flood, right now, we're completely out of it. Correct.
And you would still be out of it if you move back to that.
I think the
Setback.
biggest,
That's true, but we will be getting closer to the septic system.
Yeah, but I don't know, you didn't tell us how far.
yes,
It looks like it would be close, but, I see 36 and a half to the.
he said it would be less than 25.
Less than 25, yeah.
feet.
There's, I don't see a measurement on here. You are correct with that, but yeah.
Yeah, so I'm scaling it right now. So by scale, it's like right at 25.
Yeah, it's okay.
No, as it is now, Chuck, it's right at 25, or if you moved it?
Right now it scales 26 right now, Maria. To the closest part of the septic system, actually, and yeah. That is, yeah.
So if you shifted it, it would be less than,
It would be less than 25, correct?
Yeah, I think those are important facts we should have had.
Do you have any more? That's good.
Go ahead.
Is this drawn to scale? I'm just trying to figure out a statement that was made that there's 220 square foot of shed that's going to be removed. And there's 38.5. Are you the proposed addition? Where is the setback? Does it show on the addition where the encroachment on the setback is going to be?
The addition would be right, the addition is right here.
Okay.
That's the corner of the addition, and then this is the property line with the neighbor. 23.9 feet is the setback to this corner.
so this little triangle right here is the
Yes.
part that's over, this little bit right here.
Oh, okay, so that's the.
This angled line is the building
That's
line.
the building line.
So
Yeah.
that's the amount of.
So
That's approximately 38 and a half square feet,
Okay,
approximately.
I'm gonna say I wasn't
in
Yeah.
the- Yes.
in the picture size, but that makes sense. Okay, thank you. Before we go on to the coastal site plan, does anybody touch all that stuff? Have any questions?
Comments, the strangest lot I've ever seen.
Okay,
We want to move on to the coastal site plan
Mhm.
review then? Sure.
Yeah, we don't have. Responsible to go over now.
Yeah, just if you could brief.
Oh, absolutely. Yep, yeah. So, as Maria stated, as Chuck had stated, I mean, so this, the location of the property is also required a coastal site plan, and with that part of the application, as we talked about, you know, the existing property is, the square foot is 20,602, technically 0.4 square feet. There is a flood zone to the north, located in the R1 zone, and then properties in the R2, you know, south side is R2. As we talked about before, I mean, some of the stuff, a lot of it's covered in the original presentation. So we're removing the existing shed, and there is a small Mark, you can interject. There is a small ramp that goes connected. Said, all right, so that will be removed as well. Take precautions installing the subsurface stormwater. As I mentioned before, it's not a freestanding addition or garage. It's going to be connected to the existing house. So obviously the addition of the roof leaders and everything that will take care of. And as I mentioned before, it's going to be connected to a existing driveway with an easement, but there does need to be some construction of a driveway fully on my client's property to connect to that existing easement. Again, just kind of coming right off the application, no provision for runoff on the site, talks about the first inch of rainfall. Water will be directed to the subsurface storm chambers that the yard drain to set grade to overflow relief. That's okay. That's all right. No, you can keep scrolling. That's fine. As you can see here, there's no impact to coastal, no adverse impact to coastal resources. It doesn't abut waterfront. There are wetlands in the back, but there's no waterways or anything that running to the property. Once the construction commences, that all the precautions will be taken in terms of the silt fence, and make sure all the areas are stabilized prior to any construction occurring. And again, just to kind of summarize, obviously, in our opinion, the proposed use with the land and water resources support the use of ducts without disrupting and having any adverse impact on the environment. And as I mentioned before, it is not a waterfront site. There's no other remaining adverse impacts. And as I mentioned, all precautions will be taken prior to construction commencing. And Chuck, as before, if there's anything else you want to add or interject on the CAM application.
No, nothing at all. Just the stormwater mitigation didn't exist before, but now we are proposing for the proposed addition.
Very good.
One more time, I didn't.
The stormwater,
Can you just state that again? I didn't hear it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we are mitigating the stormwater for the proposed addition.
there wasn't one on the property existing.
Okay.
They're installing it with the addition.
Okay, thank you.
Correct.
Let me get you to back up. We have to, we talked about the 15.6, what they expecting.
Keep going.
Keep going. Next one up. Okay. Remove existing shed, variance, construct new addition which requires a 6.1 variance. You're asking for a 6.1 foot variance in your southwestern setback?
Well, that's the part that includes.
That's this one here. Okay.
It's 23.
Okay,
Yeah, so-
I thought that was somehow the way the sentences went together. It looked like the shed had something.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, that, yeah, we did, yeah, so yes, the 6.1 is the original request, yep.
Yeah.
Anybody, getting on board, have any questions? Dylan? Anybody? Any comments from the public who'd like to speak in favor or against the applicant? Is there anybody online?
Someone is raising their hand. Stephen Littman.
There we go. Hi, this is actually Shelley Littman. I'm here with Stephen Littman.
Yes.
We own 309 Boston Post Road, which is the house that's right in front of 305 Boston Post Road. And I just wanted to say that we would really love to see this happen, the variance be approved and the driveway be changed. When we originally bought the house, the driveway for 305 was actually the way it was set up, it would be our house, then the driveway to 305, then our drive, then where we would park. We had to have an easement to park on the other side. But when the house was redone, the person who redid it moved the driveway for 305 to the other side. So now it's our house, where we park our cars, and then the driveway for 305. What that essentially does is it changed the driveways so that now you have 309, 305, and then 313, I think it is. So that it's out of order, and it's been a problem with like deliveries. I worry about it being a problem with, emergency personnel coming to the house. So I just think it would be just better in general if they were able to use access to the other driveway, because then their driveway would be before our driveway in the correct order that the houses are numbered on the street. So that's the one thing I just wanted to say.
It's a huge point of contention. People have a hard time finding our house, to the point where I put up a big metal sign with our number in the front yard just so people can identify the house. I mean, entrance to the house is on the side, and it really became it's a real significant problem. People go by us all the time. Right. So if the houses could actually be in order,
the driveways
in some kind of logical order, not the house, but at least the driveways, I think that would be a big help.
Yeah.
So we're really in favor of this.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else online, Maria?
No.
Would you like to make any statements? I'm assuming you're.
I just wanted to clarify that. So we're the ones, we're encroaching on that's their property line we're talking about that we need to variance for.
Yeah.
So they're in favor. The other thing is, Mr. Crowe had a question about pushing it back. This was I heavily discussed this with the sanitarian, and he said it absolutely cannot go any further back. We would need, he said, I think his words were, he would need extensive engineering to tell him otherwise. And then we also, there's no room on the lot to move the septic system or expand it. I mean, there was some discussion about adding bedrooms and stuff, so this was all discussed at length with the sanitarian. He doesn't want us closer to the leaching fields. We don't have the room to move it or expand them either. So,
Chuck, if I'm not mistaken,
and the wetlands, we didn't want to get closer.
there's setbacks to the property lines too with septic system, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Chuck Mandel. So if it's a flat lot, it's 10 feet to the property line, and if there's a slope, if you're up gradient of the property line, it's a 25-foot setback.
No, well, that was my question when I was looking at it, but if you had to move the septic, I couldn't see putting the septic system anywhere else either.
No.
And if you shifted the house, my question in my own mind was, you shifted it back to accommodate it, and then you needed to redo your septic.
Well, and then we're starting all over at
Right.
square one. I mean, the B100 is the first thing you do. I mean,
Right.
we would be starting the whole process over if we tried to shift it back. I mean,
Well, yeah, redoing your septic for any future, you'd have to get I didn't know how you would do that.
I mean, I
Okay.
don't, it
Well,
would,
there is a way to do it. It's called an NCR, which is a non-compliant repair. So you just do the best you can. But if you want to increase the flow by bedroom count, then if you don't have a compliant septic system, you cannot do that.
It's a lot.
So,
And I mean, we've been working on this, like ironing it out to comply for the past 3 years.
3 years.
So-
3 years.
I mean, we
We've
spent
gone
some time
through
on
pretty much
it,
everything, every possible
I would
iteration.
say though that in fairness to the board, you didn't bring any of that information about the septic system here, and,
Well,
I know we're.
I mean, Russ mentioned where the septic system was.
Mentioning was, he kind of
Yeah.
did a measurement on a map, and that's, the measurements that are on a map are done by a surveyor, right? So, not by a guy with a scale ruler. So, that's what gives me a little heartache. So,
I'm not sure what you mean.
well,
You thought they should have led with the fact that,
there should have been something in there, yeah. It says,
okay, yeah.
you're telling me you can't build it anywhere else, but looking on what I see here, I don't see that. If I said, if there was a required offset from the septic, and that was drawn on there, I would understand, it would be clear. You know, and the distance would be so noted.
I understand. I can appreciate that. I understand where you're coming from.
Any other comments you'd like to make?
No, there's no, no, I have no further presentation of the, happy to answer any more questions if there are.
Yeah. I think we're good, so given that, I'd like to motion that we close the public portion of the hearing and proceed to deliberations. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Let's do, Steve, since you ended the last one, you want to start?
I mean, to me, this is, you know, pretty basic to a lot of things that come from us. You got non-conforming lot. We do a reduction in non-conformities, and I'm in favor.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, this is a pre-existing non-conforming lot, and the fact that it's undersized and obviously it's an odd shape. And I can see where you don't want to move it more to the north because you're going to be getting closer to the wetlands and the flood zone. So I see the hardship here unless somebody else has an idea. I probably would approve this.
Dennis?
I would, you know, myself, I would really like to have a continuance to the next month, get the real answers on how far you can move it back, and just so we know. I think it would be clear.
John?
I did take a look at the property myself today, and I agree with the fact that the new location of the driveway enhance the property substantially. In fact, that currently there's like 3 driveways altogether coming off Boston Post Road. It's very confusing. Doesn't enhance the value of the neighborhood as far as I'm concerned. I think this would do that.
So the only thing I can really add is there is a small but net reduction in nonconformity. So whether or not you think there's a hardship, that is there. And otherwise, I agree with what everyone said. I think it's pretty modest, modest request. Do you want to discuss more, or do you want to take a vote? All right, so I will make a motion then. Sorry. Do you have something, Maria?
It's up to you. There is a lengthy, just a note from Trent when on the B100. So, that's the health director about the septic system. I just wanted to tell.
Is that something we could read into the record, or reopen the public meeting?
I mean, it's totally up. It's.
I mean, do you think?
I don't know.
Do you want to hear it? I know the septic
Is it in the-
concerning you.
It's not in the paperwork that was submitted.
No, it's not in the paperwork, but essentially, you know, it was addressed. It's not a, he did what he had to do in order to get it approved by the health department. So it's been approved by the health department as it stands. And,
Okay.
and he,
So again, to my point, that's something that might have been pertinent to present. It hasn't been presented. Thus, I would think a continuance would be,
I'm not necessarily sure, I mean, that it needs to be in, because, you know, we're addressing a variance, that is one of the reasons why they couldn't do it, in addition to the other things that Attorney Brin said and that the homeowner stated. So, I mean, it's your call, but we do have something in
I
here.
mean, if they said you could move the house a foot, would you say, or just keep it the way it is with that change or opinion?
I don't know. I don't want to speculate.
I mean, well, to me, the way it's designed and the way septics are and, you know, 2 or 3 sentences I read, I think, to me, it wouldn't make a difference if they moved it one way or the other. So if this is better for the homeowner and they're reducing the nonconformities, I think we should totally in favor of this. We're not, I don't think it needs to be pushed off.
Put out for a vote, so you good with that?
Yeah, you put out your vote, yeah.
So I would
That's the
like,
process.
I would like to make a motion that we approve application 24-15305 Boston Post Road to grant a variance to 3.6C. And that the variance is based on the plans as submitted, and that all construction must conform to those plans. And we find that the coastal site plan is consistent with the goals and policies of the Coastal Management Act. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
I'll abstain.
So four yeas and 1 abstain. So congratulations.
Thank you.
We got approved minutes?
You have minutes to approve and you have a yearly calendar for next year to approve.
Did I miss?
Yeah, good point. I didn't do that one.
Did I miss the minutes? Did they get emailed?
No, and I appreciate that, like I said, for future, you know, absolutely. I appreciate it.
We've been doing it for 3 years, so we feel like everyone already knows. Because we've gone over it so much.
Thank you
Thank
again.
you.
All right.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. We'll come look at it when it's done.
Oh,
Sounds
sure.
good.
You're buying the beer.
The minutes were, they're linked into the agenda. Yeah, they're linked into the agenda.
I didn't see.
Yeah, they're just, it's a link, just like how you link to the documents. It's a live link. We don't have to,
Ross,
yeah.
Well, if you wanted, if you felt uncomfortable, you could bring them up.
No, I'll just abstain. You guys can, you got enough votes to.
Yeah, well, we have 1 month or 2 months, just, oh. Well, how many months do we have? Oh, it's on my agenda.
I read it, but then I don't remember anything anyway, so.
That's my problem.
I remember what I said. I don't think I-
Yeah, we only have the Novembers to approve.
So someone want a motion?
Okay, I'll move, we approve the minutes of the meeting from November 12th, 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 1 abstain.
Actually, I should abstain because I wasn't at the meeting.
Uh-oh, then it won't.
Yeah, it does,
Well-
there's 3. Still 3.
Were you at the meeting? I think.
He was there, he was online.
Yeah, I was on.
He zoomed in.
Do you want to bring them up, just if you feel comfortable looking at them?
What did we talk about? What was the variance?
I'll tell you real
It was a
quick.
very quick meeting.
It was a, 85 North Town Road, existing.
Oh, the front yard.
The big farmhouse.
The farmhouse with the front yard, another, yeah, it looked like a big addition, but it was only 8 feet of it that needed, yeah, 2 front yards.
2 front yards.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, look at this.
Anything coming up in January?
Not that I know of yet, but you have to do the,
The schedule.
yeah, it's only 2 pages. The minutes are 2 pages.
Let's get this thing. Next year.
Oh, okay.
So what are we doing with the minutes? Are we yaying or naying them?
Can we take another vote?
Do you want to, can you bring them up on the screen?
I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, you can see them. I'm like, they're right here.
They are on the screen. I meant the other screen.
Wait, they are on the screen.
If you can read that.
So John was not here. Dylan sat, right?
Yep. Well, Dylan can vote.
Yeah, Dylan can vote.
Okay. So want to retake that vote?
And then that's it. That was just, it was the motion. Yeah. It's not even, it's just about 2
Yeah, I didn't
pages.
see anything in the minutes. It was,
Yeah, that looks good to me.
just, I looked at it.
Yeah.
So I put a motion for it.
I move that we approve the minutes of the November 12th, 2024 ZBA Board of Appeals.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstained? One abstention.
Okay.
L, we have to approve the calendar for next week.
Yep.
So I'll put a motion to approve the calendar for 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained?
Okay.
Unanimous.
So as of now, no, I don't think I have anything coming up.
Yay.
If we do, then you'll do your, election of officers in January. If not, they'll go to the next meeting if we don't have any new variances.
So just vote for that.
There's somebody left.
I think it was yesterday we nominated chairs and vice chairs. Is anyone else?
Well, was it the beginning of the year that Jason left? Was it the beginning of this year? Is that why he was vice chair? Yeah.
Seems like it was last week.
I know, it does. Well, I think the same thing. I don't think we met for a while, so that's what happened. That's all I have to say. Ready to,
Oh, motion to adjourn.
there you go.
Second approved. I mean,